What's going on, everyone? This is Jonathan Salmon. I'm back with another breakdown. This time, since there's no UFC fights this weekend, I'm going to be breaking down the boxing match between Deontay Wilder and Luis Ortiz. This one's a rematch. And just got done watching the first matchup, and pretty much what I see from both fighters is that whoever was dominating that outside footing was pretty much winning the battle. So what I mean is both fighters, they fought from different stances. Deontay Wilder fought from an orthodox stance, left foot forward stance, and Luis Ortiz fought from a southpaw stance, which is the right foot forward. So basically opposite stance, open stance fight. So because of that, Deontay Wilder's biggest punches were his right hand, and on the opposite end, Luis Ortiz's biggest punches were his left hand. So what I saw was that whoever kind of dominated that outside, that front foot position, if you kind of just stay on a linear line and allow your opponent to kind of get the outside angle, that gives them more opportunity to land harder power shots up top to the head, to the body. They can really attack with a hard right straight and then follow that up with a left hook, if you're Deontay Wilder, and the opposite is true if you're Luis Ortiz. So pretty much what I saw in the first fight is that whoever dominated that position was winning the fight. I would say Ortiz had better boxing, whereas Wilder kind of picked his shots and really landed with, concussive force when he did decide to throw. So really, I think going into this rematch, it's pretty much going to be playing out in a similar fashion. I think, Ortiz, what he said, what he got away from in the first fight was that his conditioning wasn't really there. But I what I did see is that he just kind of would get caught sleeping with, he kind of get mesmerized and waiting for that big power from Wilder. And when Wilder did decide to throw, he would throw with no fat on his punch. He would just go from A to B, no big wild setups. Like, you'd only really get super wild after he'd get Ortiz hurt during the fight. But, other than that, he would just throw his right hand down the middle, his jab. Since he's so long, Wilder, he would just kind of use his jab and his longer frame to kind of lean away from attacks. And, I'm thinking he's going to be doing the same thing in the rematch. But definitely, I think both guys, they shouldn't just try and win that front foot war, that front foot position war. I think to kind of catch the other person off guard, they'll probably want to try and go on the inside and then dart back in with some heavy power shots, not just relying on that front foot position to kind of win the entire battle. Obviously, I think if you're Ortiz and you're trying to win the boxing match, then obviously the front foot's still going to be priority, but he's going to have to kind of switch it up and not just, follow Wilder. There became a point where Ortiz kind of started just following Wilder a bit. He would try and circle on the outside, and Wilder would just kind of circle the opposite way, and then Ortiz just kept following and not really cutting him off. I think he needs to kind of cut the ring off much more in this fight if he wants to have more success. And also trying to shut down, I think working on the outside and trying to get that outside angle would shut down Wilder's right hand, but he throws it so long and really unpredictably that, I think Ortiz is going to want to try and stay even closer in the pocket, not really work too far outside of that, that long range. He's going to want to fight in the short range and really force Wilder to kind of back up and try and set up his shots. In the first fight, Wilder, even though he was losing the boxing match and he lost the first few rounds, because of that distance he was able to kind of maintain, he would eventually snipe out that right hand and he would land with force, So it's really that long range that Ortiz is going to want to avoid. He's going to want to try and stay in close, stay in Wilder's chest, and just kind of probably work the body as well, not just kind of go up top. There's a little bit of head hunting in the first fight, so he should definitely look to work Wilder's body, especially since, he's a longer, taller fighter. You might as well try and get in on the inside and just work the body, and then eventually start going up top when Wilder starts to slow down in the middle to later rounds. As for Wilder, he's going to pretty much want to do what he usually does and keep that distance, keep that jab going. There was a moment in the first fight where it appeared that Wilder hurt Ortiz with a jab. Everyone called it a slip and everything like that, but just watching it back, Ortiz's reaction to the punch seemed like he was kind of gathering his wits a little bit after he got touched with that left jab by Wilder. So I'm thinking, obviously, the jab is going to be super important. Keeping the range is going to be super important. And also, I think throwing some uppercuts would actually behoove Wilder in this fight, not just going for that straight right hand left hook combination he's so known for. I definitely think maybe switching up to uppercut, hook, then across at the end of it would be good. He's not the biggest combination puncher, and he does get a bit wild, but definitely focusing on the uppercut and switching that between the uppercut and the right straight should definitely be like a priority for Wilder in this fight. And it should be fun. I'm not sure how exciting the fight's going to be. It could end up being a snooze fest just because both guys know what they bring to the table. Wilder didn't have it his way the entire fight in that first one. Ortiz did actually box him up a bit. He did hurt him a little bit in the later rounds until he was eventually stopped himself. He kind of he got a little bit flat-footed and started just kind of getting square, and that's where Wilder started to actually just open up with his attacks. Ortiz overreached with a double jab left hand when he had Wilder up against the ropes, and Wilder was able to exit out to the right, kind of just do a little bit of a pull counter and land with that right straight, and that kind of signaled the beginning of the end for Ortiz. So definitely mixing up ranges for Ortiz and definitely keeping things long where he can actually see the offense coming in for Wilder. And I think those are the two strategies both men should be using in the fight. So if you like this one, give me a like, a subscribe, follow the channel, and I'll be dropping more breakdowns in the future. And I'll see you in the next one.